The cold wind blew across the icy plains of Archon 9, a remote planet on the edge of human exploration. The sky was dark, lit only by the twin moons, and strange glowing plants dotted the frozen forest. Somewhere in the distance, a faint, rhythmic signal pulsed, almost like a heartbeat. Lieutenant Mara Davin adjusted her helmet and stared at the holographic map floating before her. "Signal is coming from that direction," she said, pointing to a cluster of jagged rocks near the forest's edge. "It's weak but steady. Could be life or trouble." Her team of 4 humans moved cautiously through the icy terrain, boots crunching on the frozen ground. Each step carried the weight of unknown danger. Stories of explorers lost on Varkon. 9 were common, and no one wanted to be the next. Suddenly, the signal intensified. The team stopped, scanning the area with infrared sensors. That's when they saw it. Small shapes moving quickly among the glowing trees. At first, they thought it was debris blown by the wind, but the shapes were alive. "They're cubs," whispered Mara, her voice barely audible through the comlink. "Abandoned, weak, and scared." 3 small alien cubs, covered in thin, silvery fur, huddled together. Their eyes glowed faintly in the dark, reflecting fear and hunger. Their thin bodies shook, and their cries pierced the cold night air. "Humans shouldn't be here," said another member, Corporal Jax. His hand hovered near his plasma pistol. "If their kind is near, we could be walking into a trap." Mara shook her head. "We can't leave them. Look at them. They have no one." As the humans approached, the cubs froze, their instinct to flee fighting against their exhaustion. Suddenly, a shadow moved behind the trees, long, low, and fast. A predator, sleek and terrifying, emerged. Its claws scraped the ice, its eyes glowing red. Jax raised his weapon, but Mara stopped him. "Wait! We need to understand, not just shoot." The predator lunged at the cubs, jaws snapping. One cub, the smallest, squealed and ran blindly into the open. Time slowed as Mara activated her jet boots, diving forward. With a swift motion, she scooped up the cub, shielding it with her body. The predator hissed, retreating slightly. The other 2 cubs hesitated, then ran to Mara, as if sensing she was their protector. Mara stood, holding the cubs close, her heart pounding. "We need to move. Now!" she ordered. The team hurried, carrying the cubs into a small ravine. The predator circled nearby, watching, waiting. As they reached a safer spot, Mara knelt down, placing the cubs gently on the ground. She examined them quickly, thin, hungry, and shivering, but alive. Relief mixed with worry. There was something strange about their biology. Their eyes seemed almost intelligent, observing her as if trying to communicate. "Signal, it came from them," whispered Jax, staring at the holographic reader. "It's not random. Someone or something is trying to call for help." Mara frowned. "But who? And why leave them here?" "Too many questions, not enough answers. We can't stay, but we also can't abandon them." Suddenly, the ground beneath them trembled. Small cracks appeared in the ice, spreading quickly. A low growl echoed from beneath the snow. The predator had companions, more than they expected. "Move! Now!" Mara shouted. She grabbed the cubs and ran, leading her team through the forest. The glowing plants created eerie shadows, making it difficult to see. Branches scraped their suits, and the signal pulsed faster, almost guiding them. After what felt like hours, they reached a small cave hidden behind a frozen waterfall. The cubs huddled together, still trembling but safe a moment. Mara knelt beside them, gently touching their fur. "They're not just survivors," she said quietly. "They're special, stronger than they look, but they need us to make it through." As the humans set up a temporary shelter, the signal continued to pulse faintly from the cubs. It was more than a distress call. It was a beacon of hope. Mara glanced at her team. "Tonight, we protect them. Tomorrow, we find out what they really are." Above them, the twin moons of Archon 9 cast a cold, silvery light. Somewhere in the dark forest, the predators waited. But Mara and her team knew one thing. They had a choice. Leave the cubs to die or help them grow stronger. And humans never left the weak behind. The cubs watched Mara silently, their small eyes reflecting a flicker of trust. A new journey had begun, one that would test both human and alien strength and courage in ways no one could predict. The forest was quiet now, but the signal pulsed on, a mysterious heartbeat in the darkness. The adventure had only just begun. The cave was small and dark, but offered shelter from the icy winds of Archon 9. The three alien cubs huddled together, their tiny bodies trembling as they watched the humans move around. Mara adjusted the portable lights, giving the cave a soft glow. Even with the flickering shadows, the cubs did not move far. Their instincts told them to run, yet something about the humans kept them there. Jax knelt beside the smallest cub, offering a hand. "It's okay," he whispered, careful not to startle it. "We won't hurt you." The cub sniffed his gloved fingers, then backed away slightly. Its eyes glowed faintly, a mix of curiosity and fear. Mara crouched nearby, observing quietly. The cubs had been abandoned, left weak and alone to survive in this harsh world. It was a miracle they had lasted this long. "We need to move them," Mara said. "We can't stay here forever. The predators are still out there, and more could be coming." "But where?" asked Dr. Lin, the team's biologist. "They're fragile. This planet, it's not forgiving. If we don't find proper shelter, they won't last a night." Mara looked at the cubs. "We take them with us. We protect them. That's our job." The team prepared the rescue kits, special carriers for fragile life forms. Each human carefully picked up a cub, speaking softly to keep them calm. The smallest one struggled, letting out a high-pitched cry. Mara held it close, whispering reassurances. Slowly, the cub stopped shaking, nestling against her chest. Outside the cave, the wind had grown stronger. Snowflakes whipped around like tiny blades, stinging exposed skin. The predators were still near, their glowing red eyes visible in the distance. Mara led the team down a narrow path, carrying the cubs, while Jax covered the rear. The cave shadows disappeared behind them as they moved cautiously. Suddenly, a loud crack echoed from the frozen ground. One of the cubs squealed and tried to dart forward. A deep growl followed. Mara froze, realizing a predator had emerged from behind a rock. Its long claws scraped the ice as it advanced, teeth bared. "Stay calm," Mara shouted. She activated her wrist shield, creating a bright energy barrier. The predator hissed and stopped, evaluating the humans. It lunged again, but Mara pressed a button on her wrist device. A pulse of energy shot forward, sending the creature stumbling backward. The cubs froze, their eyes wide. Mara gently held them tighter. "We're safe for now," she said. The team moved quickly, finding a small ravine partially hidden by ice formations. It was not a perfect shelter, but it was safer than the open terrain. They set down the cubs, who huddled together instinctively. The smallest cub looked up at Mara and let out a tiny whine, as if asking for protection. Dr. Lin knelt beside them. "They're exhausted. We should feed them and check for injuries." Mara nodded. She opened the emergency supplies, offering nutrient packs designed for alien life forms. The cubs sniffed at the packs, hesitant at first, then started eating. It was slow, careful, but they ate. While the cubs ate, Jack scanned the area with his sensors. "No movement yet," he said. "But these predators, they don't hunt alone. There's more out there. I don't like it." Mara's eyes narrowed. "Then we stay alert. We can't let them get the cubs. Not now, not ever." Night deepened over Varkon 9, the twin moons casting silver light across the icy terrain. The cave seemed quiet, but the team knew the danger was far from gone. Mara sat beside the cubs, feeling their tiny hearts beat against her chest. They were so small, so vulnerable, yet somehow they held a strange presence, an intelligence beyond their size. One cub, the largest, slowly inched closer to Mara, its glowing eyes studying her. She reached out, gently touching its fur. The cub flinched at first, then relaxed slightly. Mara smiled. "We're not leaving. You can trust us." Suddenly, a distant roar echoed through the forest, making the cubs jump. Mara stood quickly, hand on her weapon. "They're testing us." They want to see if we're weak. They don't know humans protect what they care about. Dr. Lin placed a calming hand on Mara's shoulder. They're small, but they're survivors. Maybe they feel that too. They know we saved them. The cubs huddled together again, slowly relaxing as if understanding that the humans were on their side. Mara looked at her team, determination in her eyes. Tonight, we protect them. Tomorrow, we find out who left them here, and why. And we make sure nothing stops us from keeping them safe. The signal continued to pulse faintly from the cubs, almost like a heartbeat in the dark cave. Mara realized it wasn't just a cry for help. It was a connection, something calling to humans who could understand strength and courage. Above the cave, the predators moved silently, watching. But for now, Mara and her team had won a small victory. The cubs were alive, protected, and slowly learning to trust. And in the silence of the frozen night, Mara felt a spark of hope. The rescue had succeeded. But the real challenge, the fight for survival, for trust, for strength, was only beginning. The cave was quiet now, except for the soft breathing of the three cubs. Outside, the wind howled, but inside, the humans worked quickly. Mara moved carefully, checking each cub for injuries. Their small bodies had scratches and bruises from the predators in the harsh environment, but nothing appeared fatal. Dr. Lin prepared the portable medical kit, its small devices glowing with soft blue light. We can stabilize them here, but we'll need a more permanent shelter soon, she said. She carefully scanned the smallest cub. Its metabolism is low. They've been starving for days. Jack stood guard near the cave entrance, eyes scanning for movement. If those predators come back, we'll know before they reach us. I won't let anything happen to them. Mara nodded. Good. But we need more than protection. They need strength. Dr. Lin handed Mara a small nutrient injector. This will help them recover faster. It's adapted for alien DNA, but we have to be careful. Too much could overwhelm them. Mara knelt beside the cubs, gently administering the nutrient. The cubs flinched at first, then gradually relaxed. A faint glow returned to their eyes, and their breathing became steadier. They're incredible, Dr. Lin whispered. Even in this weak state, they're resilient. Something about them, they're meant to survive. The cubs huddled together, warmth spreading slowly through their thin bodies. Mara watched them closely. They trust us now, she said softly. That's the first step. Healing isn't just physical. It's about trust, too. Hours passed, and the cubs started to show signs of recovery. The smallest one, now calmer, explored the cave cautiously, sniffing the walls and floor. The largest cub nudged a human's hand, a small gesture of curiosity. Mara smiled. Suddenly, a faint hum echoed through the cave. The signal was pulsing again, faster this time. Mara's eyes narrowed. It's coming from them, she said. Not the forest, them. They're sending a signal. Dr. Lin looked surprised. It's almost like they're asking for something or warning someone. Jax frowned. Warning? Or calling more predators? Mara shook her head. No, it's different. It's intelligence. They're trying to communicate. We need to listen carefully. The team gathered around the cubs, observing. The signal pulsed in rhythm with the cubs' small heartbeats. It was faint but persistent, like a secret language. Mara reached out gently, and the largest cub responded, its eyes locking with hers. She felt a strange connection, a silent understanding. They're learning, Mara said. Even now, they understand we're not a threat. That's remarkable for such young ones. Dr. Lin examined the cubs' physical state. If we can keep them safe and fed, they'll recover faster than any species I've seen. But we have to move soon. This cave won't protect them forever. Suddenly, a low growl came from the cave entrance. Jack spun, weapon ready. A predator stood at the edge, its eyes glowing red. It was alone, watching, waiting. Not now, Mara muttered under her breath. She stepped forward, keeping her hands calm. We're not leaving. We protect what we save. The predator hissed, then retreated slightly, its gaze fixed on the cubs. Mara noticed the cubs didn't flinch this time. They seemed to recognize her courage, and it gave them a tiny spark of confidence. See, Mara whispered, they're learning from us. Strength isn't just physical. It's courage, trust, and understanding. Dr. Lin nodded. We need to prepare them for survival. We can't shield them forever, Mara. They have potential, but only if we teach them. Mara looked at the cubs, their small forms now glowing faintly in the dim light. We will, starting tomorrow. First, healing, then strength, step by step. The night passed slowly. Mara and her team stayed vigilant, keeping watch while the cubs slept, recovering from exhaustion. Occasionally, the hum of the signal pulsed through the cave, a quiet reminder that these creatures were more than they seemed. By dawn, the cubs had regained some energy. The smallest one tried to stand, wobbling on unsteady legs. The largest nudged the smallest, encouraging it silently. Mara's heart swelled. Despite everything, they were alive and learning. We did it, Mara said quietly to her team. We saved them tonight. But this is just the beginning. Healing is only the first step. Tomorrow we teach them to survive and to fight if they have to. Outside, the predators lurked, watching, waiting. But inside, a bond had formed. Humans and cubs, together against the odds. Strength would come, and the world would soon see what these little creatures were truly capable of. The cave was quiet now, the signal a soft heartbeat in the dark. Healing had begun, but the real journey, the journey of trust, courage, and survival, was only starting. The morning sun barely touched the icy peaks of Archon 9, but inside the cave, the humans and cubs were already awake. Mara stood near the entrance, her breath forming clouds in the cold air. Today was different. Healing was over. Today, they would begin training. Dr. Lin placed a small holographic projector on the floor. Images of predators, hunting techniques, and survival skills flickered in the air. They need to learn fast, she said. If they're going to survive out here, they must understand the threats and their own strengths. The cubs watched silently, their glowing eyes flicking from one image to another. At first, they seemed confused, moving in small circles, unsure of what to do. Mara knelt, speaking softly. Focus. Watch us. Learn. The first lesson was simple. Agility. The cubs had navigated a small obstacle course made of ice pillars and glowing rocks. The smallest cub stumbled immediately, falling on its side with a soft squeal. Mara rushed over and helped it up. Try again. You can do this, she encouraged. The second cub, larger and slightly braver, leaped from one pillar to another, claws gripping the icy surface. Its movements were rough but determined. Mara smiled. That's it. Feel your strength. Trust it. Suddenly, the ground shook slightly. Jax's head snapped toward the cave entrance. Predators nearby, maybe scouting us. Mara's heart raced, but she kept her voice calm. We continue. Fear is part of learning. Face it, don't run from it. The cubs froze for a moment, ears twitching at the sound of distant growls. Mara stepped forward and touched the smallest cub. Its eyes met hers, and in that moment, a spark of courage appeared. The cub tried the obstacle again, moving carefully but steadily. After agility came strength. Mara showed the cubs how to push heavy stones and manipulate ice formations. At first, their tiny muscles trembled under the effort. The smallest cub squealed as a boulder nearly toppled it over, but Mara steadied it. You're stronger than you think, she said. Jack set up a small, harmless target practice area. Using soft energy projectiles, he demonstrated how to defend against predators without harming themselves. The cubs watched, fascinated, tilting their heads and blinking in curiosity. Then, one cub instinctively lunged at a target, hitting it perfectly. Dr. Lin clapped quietly. They're learning fast. Faster than I expected. Their instincts are sharper than ours sometimes. Suddenly, a loud roar echoed through the forest. Mara's eyes widened. Predators. Closer this time. We might have visitors. The cubs stiffened, ready to flee. But Mara's voice was firm. No. Stand your ground. Use what you've learned. The predators emerged slowly from the shadows. 3 sleek, glowing-eyed hunters. Jax raised his weapon, ready to defend, but Mara stopped him. Let them try. Watch the cubs. The cubs hesitated. Then one stepped forward. its glowing eyes locked on the nearest predator. It crouched slightly, muscles tensing. Mara watched in awe as instinct and training combined. The cub leaped with surprising speed, striking the predator just enough to startle it. The second cub followed, claws swiping carefully, targeting weak spots it had seen in the holographic training. The predators hissed and backed off slightly, confused. Mara's team stayed alert, but they let the cubs handle it. By the end of the encounter, the predators retreated into the forest. The cubs stood their ground, panting but victorious. Mara knelt beside them. See? You have strength inside you. You can protect yourselves and others. Dr. Lin examined them. Not just physical strength. Their instincts, intelligence, and trust in us, it's evolving fast. They're remarkable. The cubs, exhausted but proud, huddled together. The smallest cub looked up at Mara and let out a small, almost human-like growl of satisfaction. Mara's heart swelled. They were learning. They were becoming stronger. The rest of the day passed with more exercises, climbing icy cliffs, navigating hidden paths, and learning to recognize predator patterns. Each success brought confidence. Each failure was met with guidance and encouragement. Slowly, the cub's fear began to fade, replaced by determination and courage. As the sun set, casting silver light across the cave entrance, Mara gathered her team. They've done well today, but this is only the beginning. Tomorrow, we teach them strategy, how to fight together, not just alone. Outside, the predators watched from the shadows. They had underestimated the cubs and the humans. But Mara knew this. Every day, every lesson was bringing the cubs closer to their true potential. And soon, no predator would dare threaten them, or their human protectors. The night air was cold, but inside the cave, a warmth of achievement and hope spread. The cubs had taken their first steps toward strength. And Mara, looking at them, knew that the future held challenges far greater than predators. But together, they would face anything. The night was quiet, but Mara couldn't sleep. The cubs, exhausted from the day's training, huddled together in the corner of the cave, their small bodies glowing faintly under the dim lights. But Mara's mind was restless. Something about these cubs, their instincts, their intelligence, it didn't add up. Why were they left here? She whispered to herself. And who would leave such creatures to die? Dr. Lin joined her, carrying a small data pad. I've been analyzing the signal, she said softly. It's not just a distress call. It carries encoded information, patterns, almost like a message from the cub's creators. Mara's eyes widened. Creators? You mean someone placed them here on purpose? Dr. Lin nodded. Yes, and it seems they weren't abandoned randomly. Something happened here, something big. We need to find out what. The next morning, Mara led the team deeper into the icy forest. They followed faint traces, broken branches, and claw marks, signs of a struggle. The cubs walked beside them, moving carefully, yet their senses were sharper than the humans. The smallest cub paused suddenly, ears twitching. Mara stopped. The cub sniffed the air, then ran ahead a few meters, stopping near a frozen clearing. In the center of the clearing lay remnants of technology, crushed and broken, but still recognizable. Dr. Lin knelt, scanning the debris. These are survival pods, military grade. Whoever left them here intended to protect or trap something. Jax frowned. Trapped whom? The cubs. Dr. Lin shook her head. Not necessarily. But the pods were designed to shield life forms from harsh environments. Someone must have known these cubs would need protection. Mara's mind raced. So, they were abandoned to survive? Or someone left them to die? A sudden wind swept across the clearing, carrying a distant echo, faint roars and mechanical sounds. Mara held up her hand. Everyone stay alert. Something's near. From behind the frozen trees, shadows moved. Figures in dark armor, hunting devices scanning the area. Mara's heart sank. Predators? Or something worse? One of the armored figures moved closer, revealing itself in the dim sunlight. It wasn't a predator. It was human, or something like it, twisted by technology. Its eyes glowed red, scanning for life signs. Mara's team hid behind ice formations. They're searching for the cubs, Jax whispered. We need to move now. But before they could retreat, the largest cub growled, stepping forward. Its small body tensed, muscles ready. It leaped, striking a scanner with surprising precision, disabling it temporarily. The armored figure hissed and stumbled back. Mara realized something incredible. The cubs weren't just learning. They were instinctively defending themselves. Dr. Lin gasped. They remember something. Their instincts aren't just survival. They're knowledge from their past. Something was taught to them before this. Mara knelt, looking at the cubs. You've been through more than we imagined. You survived on instinct, on memories we don't fully understand. The cubs huddled together, then slowly followed the humans as they retreated to the cave. Mara's mind was racing. Who had abandoned them? Why leave them in such danger? And what enemy was hunting them now? That night, around the flickering light of a small fire, Mara spoke softly. We need to know your story. You may be small, but you're powerful. And no matter what happens, we'll protect you. But you must trust us completely. The largest cub moved closer, nudging Mara's hand. She felt a strange warmth, a connection forming deeper than before. The cubs were beginning to understand that humans weren't just protectors. They were allies. Dr. Lin looked at Mara. Whatever happened here, it shaped them. These cubs were meant for something bigger. They survive horrors we can't even imagine. Mara stared into the fire, determination settling in her heart. Then we'll help them fulfill that purpose. We'll make sure they're strong enough to face whatever's coming. And we'll uncover the truth, no matter how dangerous it is. Outside, the forest was silent, but the shadows moved. The armored hunters were still searching, unaware that the cubs had learned to fight. Mara knew the truth would come soon, but she also knew one thing with certainty. These little creatures, left to die, were far stronger than anyone realized. Tomorrow, the training would continue. But now, a new mission had begun. Uncover the secrets of the past, protect the cubs, and prepare them for the challenges ahead. The night wind whispered across the icy plains, carrying a promise. The cubs were survivors, and with humans by their side, they would become unstoppable. The sun barely broke through the icy clouds of Archon 9, casting a pale light over the frozen forest. Mara and her team prepared the cubs for their first real test. The lessons in agility, strength, and instinct were about to be put to the ultimate challenge. Jack scanned the perimeter. Sensors show movement. Something's coming fast. Dr. Lin crouched near the cubs. Remember, they're not just animals. They're intelligent, capable of learning and adapting. Trust them. Let them act. Mara nodded, crouching beside the smallest cub. Stay close. Focus. Use what you've learned. Protect each other. From the shadows, the armored hunters emerged. 3 figures, bigger than the ones before, advanced with precision. Their scanning devices glowed red, and weapons hummed softly, ready to strike. The cubs froze for a heartbeat. Then, the largest one stepped forward. Its glowing eyes locked on the nearest hunter. Mara's heart pounded. Now, she whispered. The cubs moved like a single unit. The largest leaped forward, swiping at a hunter's leg, forcing it to stumble. The second cub darted to the side, creating a diversion. The smallest cub hesitated, then followed Mara's whispered encouragement, striking a sensor on the ground. Sparks flew. The hunters hissed and retaliated, firing non-lethal energy blasts. Mara's team took cover but didn't intervene, letting the cubs handle the encounter. The forest erupted in chaos. Energy pulses, glowing claws, and frantic movements. But the cubs were precise. Every action mirrored what they had been taught. They dodged, struck, and retreated strategically. Jax whistled under his breath. They've improved. Faster, smarter, stronger than I expected. One of the hunters lunged at the largest cub. The cub twisted mid-air, narrowly avoiding the strike, and slammed into the hunter with its small but powerful body. The figure stumbled, sending its weapon flying. Mara's team moved closer, providing cover fire to distract the hunters, but it was clear. The cubs were leading the fight. Their instincts, combined with human training, made them a formidable force. Dr. Lin's voice was tense. They're learning from each move, adapting. This is incredible. The smallest cub, after dodging a pulse blast, leaped onto a low branch and jumped onto the hunter's back, clawing at its armor. The hunter fell, stunned, and the cub landed gracefully on the ground. Mara couldn't hide her amazement. They're not just survivors, they're warriors. The battle continued for several minutes, the cubs working in sync with humans, striking and retreating, using the terrain to their advantage. Finally, the hunters, realizing they were outmatched, retreated into the shadows, leaving only the sound of distant growls. The cubs stood together, panting but victorious. Their small bodies glowed faintly, eyes reflecting triumph and confidence. Mara knelt beside them, placing a hand on each one. "You did it," she said softly. "You faced real danger and you survived. And not just survived, you fought. You're stronger than you know." Dr. Lin examined them. This is a turning point. They've learned not just to survive, but to think, react, and protect. Their training is paying off. Jack smiled, shaking his head. "I've never seen anything like this. Humans saved them, and they're already stronger because of it." The cubs huddled together, eyes glowing faintly, sensing the bond forming not just with each other, but with the humans. Mara realized something profound. The cubs were not only learning to fight, they were learning to trust, to fight with humans, not just for themselves. Night fell over the icy forest. Mara and her team returned to the cave, cubs moving cautiously but with confidence. The first battle was over, but they all knew it was only the beginning. The hunters would return, and the cubs would face greater challenges. Mara looked at the small creatures she had once thought fragile. Now they were warriors, and she felt a surge of hope. Whatever the future held, these cubs, abandoned to die, had become something extraordinary. "Rest the night," Mara said. "Tomorrow we make them stronger. Tomorrow we prepare them for what's coming." Outside, shadows moved silently among the trees, but for now, the humans and cubs were safe. The first battle had been won, but the war for survival and strength was only beginning. The morning light of Archon 9 filtered through the icy trees, casting long shadows over the forest floor. The first battle had tested the cubs, and they had survived. Now it was time to go further, time to become stronger, faster, smarter. Mara gathered her team and the cubs at the cave entrance. "You faced danger," she said, kneeling beside the largest cub. "But today we push limits. Today you learn more than survival. Today you become hunters and protectors." The cubs blinked, their glowing eyes reflecting curiosity and determination. The humans had prepared a training ground deeper in the forest, a mix of natural obstacles and holographic projections showing predators, traps, and environmental hazards. Agility first, Mara instructed, move through the forest as one unit. Trust each other. Cover each other. The cubs sprinted into the training area, leaping over icy rocks, sliding under low branches, and weaving through holographic barriers. Each movement was sharper than the last, muscles growing stronger, instincts more precise. Jax watched with admiration. They're not just learning. They're evolving. Look at how they anticipate each other's moves. Next came strategy. Dr. Lin projected a simulation of multiple predators attacking from different directions. You won't always face one threat. Sometimes you must think, plan, and act together. The cubs studied the projections. Slowly, they began to move in coordinated patterns. The largest cub would lure the predator. The second would flank, and the smallest, guided by Mara's gentle instructions, would disable sensors or set traps. Mara's heart raced. Yes, exactly like that. Work together, always together. Then came the endurance phase. Mara led them to a frozen river, rushing with icy water. Strength isn't just power. It's stamina. It's courage. Push your limits. The cubs hesitated first, but one by one, they entered the water, struggling against the current, learning to balance and resist. Mara and her team cheered them on. Slowly, exhaustion turned into determination, and determination into confidence. By midday, the cubs were visibly stronger, their small bodies glowing faintly with energy. But Mara knew the real test was yet to come, facing the main enemy. "Listen," she said, gathering them in a circle. Hunters will return. Bigger, stronger, smarter. They'll test you, but you're ready, not just with strength, but with intelligence, courage, and trust. Trust in yourselves and in us. The cubs nodded, a silent understanding passing between them. For the first time, Mara felt that they weren't just survivors. They were a team, humans and cubs, bonded by danger and care, standing ready for anything. As the sun dipped behind the frozen peaks, a faint red glow appeared in the distance. The hunters returning, larger in number, their armor reflecting the dying light. Mara's team readied weapons, but the cubs stepped forward, their glowing eyes meeting hers. Together, Mara whispered. We faced them together. The hunters approached cautiously, scanning for life signs. The cubs moved strategically, using the forest as cover, employing everything they had learned. The agility, the strength, the intelligence, the teamwork. The humans provided support, but the cubs were the front line now. They darted, leaped, struck, and retreated with precision. Every movement showed growth. Every action demonstrated their potential. One of the hunters charged at the largest cub, but it twisted in midair, landing behind a rock and striking the hunter's leg, forcing it to stumble. The second cub flanked another hunter, using agility and strength to disable it. The smallest cub, guided by instinct and training, set a trap using the environment, sending the remaining hunter sprawling. Mara watched, amazed. They had become what we hoped, stronger than any predator expected. The hunters retreated, realizing they were outmatched. The forest fell silent again, except for the faint hum of the cubs' glowing eyes. They had faced real danger and emerged victorious, not just surviving, but growing stronger with every challenge. Dr. Lin knelt beside Mara. They're extraordinary, not just physically, but mentally. They're learning faster than any species I've studied. Mara smiled, placing a hand on the largest cub's head. You've done well. You're not just cubs anymore. You're warriors, and the world will see what you're capable of. Night fell over Varkon 9, the twin moons casting silvery light across the forest. The cubs rested, exhausted but proud. Mara and her team stayed vigilant, knowing that challenges would continue, but feeling a deep sense of accomplishment. The cubs had become stronger, smarter, and braver. The bond between humans and cubs had deepened. And Mara knew that whatever came next, together they would face it. The adventure was far from over. But one thing was certain. The little creatures, once abandoned to die, were now a force to be reckoned with. The icy plains of Varkon, 9 stretched endlessly under the twin moons, their pale light reflecting off the frozen terrain. Mara and her team stood at the edge of the forest, watching the horizon. The red glow of approaching armored hunters signaled one thing. The final confrontation had arrived. This is it, Mara whispered. No more running. No more hiding. Today we fight and we win. The cubs stood beside her, their small bodies glowing faintly, eyes burning with courage. They were no longer weak, abandoned creatures. They were warriors, trained, intelligent, and ready. The hunters emerged from the shadows, more numerous and larger than before. Their weapons hummed, scanning for life signs. Mara's team readied defensive positions, but she knew this battle would be won not by humans alone, but by the cubs themselves. Stay close, work together, she instructed. Trust your instincts. Trust each other. And remember, we protect what we save. The first attack came swiftly. A hunter lunged at the largest cub, claws extended, but the cub anticipated the strike, twisting midair and landing behind a frozen rock. Its glowing eyes locked on the enemy, muscles coiling. In a single, fluid motion, it struck the hunter's armor, sending sparks flying. The second cub flanked another hunter, leaping gracefully and disabling a scanning device. The smallest cub, guided by Mara's subtle hand signals and instinct, set a trap using frozen debris. The hunter stumbled, losing balance, while the cub landed safely on the ground. Mara watched, a rising in her chest. They become stronger, smarter, unstoppable. The hunters regrouped, firing energy pulses. Mara and her team provided cover fire, but it was clear the cubs were leading the battle. Every movement was precise, every strike deliberate. They fought not just with strength, but with strategy and instinct honed over days of training. One hunter charged at Mara. The largest cub leaped in front of her, claws extended, blocking the attack. The human soldier stumbled back, amazed at the cub's bravery. The second cub struck again, disabling another hunter's weapon. The smallest cub, now confident, darted between enemies, striking weak points and creating openings for its siblings. The battle raged across the frozen plains. Sparks flew, claws sliced, and energy pulses illuminated the night. But the cubs moved as one, coordinated and fearless. Mara's team provided support, but it was clear the cubs had become the true warriors. Finally, the hunters, realizing they were outmatched, retreated into the shadows, leaving only the echoes of their defeat. The cubs stood together, panting but victorious. Their bodies glowed faintly, eyes reflecting triumph and strength. Mara knelt beside the largest cub, placing a hand on its head. "You did it," she said softly. "You faced the impossible, and you won. You're stronger than anyone ever imagined." Dr. Lin approached, awe in her eyes. "This is more than survival. This is evolution. They surpassed what we thought possible. Humans saved them, and they became stronger because of it." Jack smiled, shaking his head. "We didn't just protect them. We helped them become the warriors they were meant to be." The cubs huddled together, glowing with pride and confidence. For the first time, Mara saw not fear or hesitation, but determination and trust. They were ready for anything the world could throw at them. Mara stood, looking at her team and the cubs. This is what it means to protect life, to save the weak and help them grow stronger. They're not just cubs anymore. They're a force, and no one can underestimate them now. The night air was silent, save for the faint hum of the cubs' glowing forms. Varkon 9 seemed peaceful, but Mara knew this was only the beginning. The cubs had survived, trained, and fought. They had become something extraordinary. As Mara whispered the words that would echo in her heart forever, she knelt beside the largest cub. "You were left to die, but humans saved you. And now, you are stronger than anyone could imagine." The cub's eyes flickered in response, a silent acknowledgement of trust, courage, and newfound power. The bond between humans and cubs had transformed into something unbreakable. Together, they had faced danger, overcome fear, and triumphed. Above the icy plains, the twin moons shone down, casting silver light over the victorious team. Mara knew the future held more challenges, more battles. But with these cubs at her side, humanity had forged allies stronger than anything they had ever known. The adventure, survival, trust, and strength had reached its climax. But the legend of the cubs, once abandoned to die, had only just begun.